Hello, I'm Dr. Dennis Bielfeldt of the Christ School of Theology. Today we're looking at Descartes, continuing to talk some about Descartes and his philosophical work, particularly his work in metaphysics as we see it in the Meditations. And of course all of this is finally done in the service of the greater project of understanding our theological tradition. Okay. So now we're to Meditation 5, more or less. And in Meditation 5, and there are 6 of them, Descartes argues that, of course, extension, duration, and movement are all clear and distinct ideas. Right? And I cannot change their real and immutable natures merely by thinking them. So if I think of a triangle, as soon as I think of a triangle, I think of a figure whose angles sum to 2 right angles. It's of the nature of a triangle to sum to 2 right angles. So in just this same way as we unpack the notion of triangularity, if you will, so does the ontological argument unpack the notion of God, right? God is defined as an infinitely perfect being. Perfection includes existence. Thus, God exists. Now, if you're not convinced by the ontological argument, many other people aren't either. This is a pretty simple rendering of it. It's actually much more simple than Anselm was doing, and certainly a lot more simple than later versions of the ontological argument. It's probably the one that Kant has most closely in mind when he critiques the ontological argument and says that existence cannot be a predicate. We'll get to that. Okay, in Meditation 6, Descartes talks about the body, the mind, and how they connect. He argues here that it is possible for God to create anything that I can clearly and distinctly perceive. And he says that if God creates something that is independent of another, they are distinct from one another. I clearly and distinctly understand my existence as a thinking thing, right? And I understand them without needing to think of my existence as a body. So God can create a thinking thing independent of any body. I clearly and distinctly understand my body as an extended thing, and that does not require a mind. So God can create a body independent of a mind. So my mind is a reality distinct from my body. So I, a thinking thing, can exist without a body. Well, there are so many places here we might want to discuss in all of this. But the idea, of course, is that we have the material, the body, the material, and the mental, right? And the essence of matter is, of course, extension. The essence of mind is thinking. And we have 2 fundamentally different kinds of substance. And the idea is that, of course, if 2 things have different sets of properties, they are not the same thing. Matter has a different set of properties than mind, and so they cannot be the same thing. This we could talk about a very long time. It gets us into the question of the identity of discernibles or indiscernibles, and I won't go there for now to the critique of all of this, but I just want to get the big things out on the table. So he's now basically unpacked his substance dualism, right? There is matter, there is the mental. Now, of course, there's another substance here, which is not exactly either one of those, and that's God. But God holds this substance dualism in place. Now, he says that I have a strong inclination to believe in the reality of external material things due to my senses. And God must have created me with this nature, this strong inclination. And of course, if that the world of independent material things did not exist, it would be, and God created me to believe in it, then God would be a deceiver, right? But of course, we know that God is not a deceiver. So, material things do exist and contain the properties essential to them. Now, if all of you follow this, it's quite ingenious, really. Descartes' question is there an external world? And first of all, he proves that there's a self. And then from the idea of perfection in the self, he now proves that there's a God. Now from that, he gets that there's a world, right? So God is the bridge to get from the self to the external world. That's very interesting. Now, of course, in the medieval tradition, the existence of the world was just merely presupposed. And there was an objectivity. You didn't have to go to the self to prove to God, prove that there is a God, then to the world. But the idea was that, we could know things in the world that in our knowing, that's automatically and already connectable to the world, or we wouldn't have knowing. And that God is all part of that. So nothing's problematic in the tradition. Now, what Descartes gets us into is a position in the philosophy of mind called dualistic causal interactionism. He says there's the mental and the bodily, or the material, right? The bodily has the properties of extension, it has shape, it has mass, it has momentum, it has energy, it has all of that physical stuff. The mental, and of course laws of motion that govern it, the mental thoughts, willings, assertions, aversions, imaginings, all of this. And so when you think about it, the mental is comprised of a very different kind of stuff than the bodily. Now, I'm both a body and a mind. In fact, that's what I am. I'm a mind and a body, right? That's the composite of what I am. So the question is, how does my mind connect to my body? What Descartes suggests is that my mind connects to my body in an area of the brain called the pineal gland, or pineal gland, however you want to pronounce it. I will come back to this next time. This takes just a little bit more unpacking. I'm Dr. Dennis Bielfeldt of the Christ School of Theology. I'll see you right away. Thanks.